Tell us your weird ass dance story.
Yeah, well, I like to. So there's these really cool classes here in Auckland, called from the Honey Pot. So that it's modern hip hop and twerk.
Whoa.
Yeah, I get into it, man. It is honestly, it's so much fun.
A little twerk in your chair, in your booth.
I'm gonna have to post one because like I say it to people and they're like, "You don't dance." I'm like, "I can dance a little bit, like not loads, but I can dance a little bit. I can move," and it's really cool. These classes are really great, and we do a lot of filming. So everybody, gets the opportunity to film themselves doing it, so you can look back at them and that sort of thing. And we did a big group one. And what happens at that moment is that everybody lines their phones up against the wall. And, so you know where your phone is, you pinpoint it, and you're like, yeah, that's where my phone is. And you do the dance. And, it's like this one we were doing, was it Buttons by the Pussycat Dolls? So, kind of like heightened sort of sexy sort of moving. And then at the end, there's like this like floor crawl, and I'm so confident. I'm like, yeah, like crawling up to my phone, doing sexy eyes at my phone. I get to my phone and I pick it up and I start like doing things at it. And then this girl goes, that's my phone. And I have a recording of me next to her phone, of me going up to somebody else's and being like, yeah, at her phone, and then going, oh, I'm so sorry. So this poor girl has this video of me like giving her the sexy eyes. So that was real cool.
Oh, right. Okay. It's all good.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
I was like, what is happening?
What is going on? It was me. I was muted. So was she recording on her phone and you... Because everyone was supposed to be recording themselves.
Yeah, so we had them lined up next to each other, end to end along the wall. And I was just so confident that her phone was my phone. And I was like, I was barreling that thing. I was right in there, picked it up and started fiddling with it. And can I have my phone back?
Yes, you can.
And
did she at least send you the video?
No, she didn't really talk to me.
Oh, because this was like a complete stranger.
I reckon she's stoked, though. She just wasn't telling you. I reckon she's actually stoked she's got a video of you on her phone. Like
hot chick on my phone. Sick.
Yeah. I personally thought it was really funny. I don't think she was very impressed.
She was hiding
she
it.
So needs to get over herself.
Well, that's what I thought. But, so I really should post that one because me saying sorry is really hilarious.
Oh, it'll be really funny. That shift from like, hey, baby, to, oh, they fucking good. It'll be gold. I'm really keen to see that.
Yeah,
very keen
I have to post one of my other ones as well because I tell you what, as a creative, sometimes, when you sit in a booth for a long time, you're like, oh, I feel so stagnant and you're just a little bit stuck. Mm-hmm. Going to dance classes or doing something really physical like that completely takes you out of it. And then you feel refreshed coming in the next day. So girls, get on your twerk.
Yeah, there's dancing and then there's twerking.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is a different, you're a whole nother level on that.
What does that mean, Jordan?
I'm just saying it's like, get out of the booth and do a bit of dance. You ain't just dancing, mate. Twerking, that's serious business.
That's some whole booty shaking action going on that goes. Yeah. I agree with you, Jordan. I think that goes beyond dancing.
Yeah.
And I'm not like putting it down. I think it's fucking great, right?
Yeah,
but I certainly don't put it in the same bucket as dancing.
It definitely is dancing.
You put dancing in a bucket.
We're overthinking it.
But I think it is a different skill set for sure. Like that is a completely different skill set to twerk because I
Can you
can't.
Twerk, Ashton?
Oh no. Oh,
Are we all going to try right now?
I have tried. I've tried and I've knocked stuff over. Like it's not a pretty picture. It's a different skill set I do not possess. I envy you, Tessa.
I can't make my butt move
envious.
like that. And maybe it's a mobility thing. Maybe I don't have the right movement in my hips, or maybe I need to loosen off some muscles or something. But my body just doesn't move that way. I can shake my ass around when I'm dancing.
Excuses.
That's fine. But the twerk thing, it's just like a whole. It's like I watch people twerking. I'm like, their butt's got its own brain. It's doing its own thing.
I'm not going to say I'm a good twerker. I can move my hips and my booty relatively well. I'm not going to say I'm a twerker, but I can say I can twerk-esque. I can get there.
That's a whole nother bucket.
So in this class, do they go step by step, teaching you how to move your ass?
Not in this
muscles
particular
that
one,
way.
but you can take ass moving classes.
For real?
Well, they don't call them that, but I think they should.
They should. Yeah, they definitely should.
Yeah, you can take twerk classes so you can learn the specific movements on how to get it done. I haven't done it yet, and I'm really looking forward to doing it because I just think,
Okay.
because, you know, like when I go out at like, you know, parties, things like I am the dancer. I go to town. I
Are
go
you the one
ham.
that gets the dance floor started?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So that is what I
ends
do.
it. She ends
And yeah,
She's too
and
good.
then
She's too good. She's like, okay, guys, everyone just go
Look
over
at
there
that
and
ass.
watch.
I am not going
Yeah.
anywhere
Yeah.
near it. That's amazing.
yeah, or people go, oh, she's doing it a bit much. I'm going to move away. That's the other option.
No,
Safety.
no, I'm sure you're fantastic.
Well, thank you. So yes, I'll have to post a video somewhere of
Please
my
do.
dancing because it's another happy place. It really, really is.
Aw,
Yeah, and I
That's
wouldn't.
nice.
I'm not going to proclaim to be a dancer, but I'm a really solid mover, and I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Lovely.
I really like that. All right. Well, I
Uh-huh.
reckon that's a good point to start this week's podcast.
Let's
So-
do it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Good Talkers podcast. I'm Deanna Cooney, and I have someone doing angle grinding across the road from my house right now. So you may hear some weird, like, kind of shit in the background of my recording this week. But, you know, welcome to being a voiceover from home, right? So, as always, I'm joined by the delightful mover, Tessa Livingston.
Oh boy.
I was going to say dancer. I'm like, oh no,
I know, I
she's
was like,
not a dancer. She's a mover.
Don't call me a dancer. Don't call me a dancer. People have
She's a mover.
expectations.
She's a mover. Welcome, mover, Tessa Livingston.
Thank you.
Amazing human being. And they're just super delightful. And I love you so much, Ashton Haugen. Thank you so much for being here today.
I love you too, Deanna.
I love all you guys. You're amazing. And Jordan, producer
Yo.
Jordan. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We love having you in this little space with us. It's so awesome. Say hello.
Hi. I love the expectation managing there by Tessa as well. There's something to be said about that. No, I'm just
About
a
saying
mover.
I'm not a dancer, I'm a
dancer.
mover?
I actually really appreciate the wording there because it doesn't carry any expectation.
Yeah,
It's
good.
creative.
I moved.
I see what you're up to.
She clever.
Okay.
So good. So
continue.
good. So today we are talking the good talk about voice, obviously, because we always talk about voice, but specifically injury and damage, right? Now, this is a fucking massive topic, right? Just to like get real clear about how serious this is right from the start. And there's people that dedicate their entire lives to this. I mean, Tessa is one of those people who's dedicated a significant amount of time to, you know, learning about voice and speech in the pathology work that she's done, you know. So we're going to dip our toes in the water and see where we go. And I think that we should start with some experience from everybody in the group, right? So who has experienced some form of like vocal difficulty or damage or distress or something like that? Like I know I definitely have, right? So Ashton, you have as
Yes.
well, right? So why don't you
Yeah.
kick this off? Tell us what happened.
So it's actually more recently. It's just I feel like I'm currently still experiencing it. I don't know if I have injured my voice or just overworked it to the point where I feel like I don't have as much vocal endurance as I used to. Which is a problem when you're recording. I'm very fortunate enough to be working this job full time, and I am recording every single day for hours a day sometimes. And it's been really kind of stressful, if I'm being perfectly honest,
I
because
mean, vocally stressful?
and emotionally, mentally stressful
right.
too,
Yeah.
because I feel like I'm not performing at my best sometimes. You know, if I hit that, 3-hour mark of recording and then I can hear my voice get a little tired, I start, freaking out a little bit. So I definitely am currently, I feel like, experiencing this. And I feel like it's probably something that's going to be a constant. And if I choose this career, taking care of my voice and dealing with these kind of issues is going to be, part of the job.
Absolutely. No,
yeah.
it totally is, right? Like if you are and essentially what we are is voice professionals. We're professional voice users. That's what we are. And anyone who uses their voice day to day, and this is teachers. This is not just people who do it in a performative kind of space, but if you're a teacher and you spend all day talking, then this is a really good episode for you as well, because we're going to talk about
Right.
some of the things that you can do to resolve stuff. Tess, why don't you tell us about your, experiences with vocal fatigue or difficulty or damage or distress or any of those things?
Absolutely. So I'm a little bit different in the sense that my vocal difficulties haven't necessarily. I'm so stumbly. I've been stumbly before this. I'm stumbly now. We'll try again.
Take a breath, slow down.
Slow down. No, never. Too fast is always my mode. So a lot of my stress has come from being stressed about my voice. So a lot of the difficulties I've had with it, it's a mind fuck, I swear to God. So what's happened with me is that I think I was always destined for this vocation. I was always supposed to be in this kind of realm of things because I treasured my voice like crazy. I think I mentioned in an earlier episode that I used to sing into a pillow so that no one could hear me singing, but I could hear myself. And that was something that I used to do all the time. And there was this an archway in our house, and I used to stand really, really close to it, which I now know is a really good vocal technique, but I used to sing on the wooden part of the wall so that I could hear it, so I didn't have to do it loudly and I could get it back. And I used to love it, but I was I didn't want to share it with anybody because I was too scared to. And so I think a lot of what I developed as a young child is how to sing with my cords open and how to and creating a lot of stress and tension in my neck, one about how I use my voice, but also how I felt about my voice. And it caused a lot of strain and a lot of stress, and often when things wouldn't go right for me emotionally, my voice would be one of the first things to start giving out. It would never it would never physically go, but I could feel all the tightness and the tension in my neck. And so for me, what happened in recent years is that so I was working at an ENT clinic as a voice therapist, and I was also a speech and drama teacher as a contractor to wee kids for a little bit. And I would have to hold down the front of my larynx. So I used to get my the bit between your thumb and your forefinger, run it down the front of my throat, pull my neck down so that I could speak.
Because so you're releasing tension in the muscles, basically.
I was releasing tension in the muscles because I was so overwhelmed by something. I don't even know what it was anymore, but it was causing me to lose my voice because my larynx was so high up in my neck, my voice box was so high up underneath my chin and at the base of my tongue, and my neck was absolutely exhausted. So mine came from a really interesting place of stress and
so more psychological and emotional.
Much more psychological. Yeah, much more psychological. And I remember trying to read stories to kids and having to hold my neck to be able to speak, and it was really distressing because also I was working as a voice therapist at the time, and I was like, mine's not working, and I'm supposed to be teaching other people how to do it. So that was my core experience with I'd call that vocal distress. That would probably be my word for it. Yeah.
So mine, I'm really, really careful with my voice because when I was younger, I partied heaps and heaps and heaps, and the first thing I would always lose was my voice, always. And it didn't matter how quiet I was in the partying space. It wasn't like I went out and yelled a lot, right? But I did talk all night because I'm hanging out with my friends, right? But lots of alcohol and other things being consumed and party, right? And I was early in my career, I worked for a radio station over here in Perth, and I drove these big cars, big four-wheel drive cars that would drive around to different locations, and we'd give away stuff and all that kind of stuff. And so I'd be on the radio every hour over a 5-hour shift or a 4-hour shift or something like that, announcing our location and talking to the guys who were on air and all that kind of stuff. And if I had a big weekend, they always told me I sounded like a drag queen because my voice would be down here and I'd be talking like this. I'd be like, hi guys, how you going, right? Now I'm not doing an impression of a drag queen. That's me doing an impression of me, after a big weekend. And it was always very, very obvious to them when I had pushed the envelope a bit socially over a weekend, right? And part of it is because I have a naturally deep voice, right? My voice naturally is lower in pitch, and it has a tendency towards hoarseness and that kind of fry sort of space. And so when I overuse it, it doesn't disappear. It's not like a laryngitis disappear. It's a super husky thing, and I wind up down in this space all the time. Now, that hasn't happened to me for years and years and years and years and years because I'm really fucking careful.
Yeah. I find that so interesting because if we're thinking about party spaces and, pubs, all those sorts of things, house parties, whatever it is, the people who have a well-projected voice but high top notes carry better in spaces like that. So, because I'm the same, Deanna, because I don't, I'm not particularly high in my female voice. I get really sore and really stressed really easily after a night out because I tend to have that lower quality.
Harder.
So I have to push harder. And because, maybe there's a little bit of alcohol on board or, you're doing all of those sorts of things, you lose your sense of feedback.
Yeah.
And then you push too hard anyway and you don't notice. So it's really funny because people are always like, Tessie, you're one of the first people to start having vocal issues. Why is that? And I'm like, well.
Well, it's because I've got a low-pitched voice and it doesn't carry very well in noisy environments.
Yes.
I tell you what's really interesting, what I have noticed over time, and I'm sort of only just like putting these two things together in this conversation, which is so good, right? I have recognised of late that when I want to be heard, my pitch jumps up. So it happens in the house, like at home in my house. If I want to be heard over the top of the other people that are in the house, if my kids and my partner are all like rah, 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 making heaps of noise, I've recently just sort of noticed that my pitch jumps up and I wind up here, right? And I'm trying to get everyone's attention and my voice lives up in this space here. And I reckon it's probably some unconscious response to the fact that when I stay in this and I just get louder, people don't hear me. And it's harder. It's harder for me to get louder down here than it is for me to get louder up here. Yes, Tess?
Yes, that I find fascinating. Fascinating, because if we think about the business world, if we think about what women are frequently told in the business world, they're like, get low on your voice because you're more respected in that place, which is being... It's a bit of a contentious thing.
I have lots to talk about that as well. We need to do another
that should probably
episode on
another
that.
whole episode because it's being disproven kind of, but also
Sort
it
of,
isn't.
but also not.
It's a little. So that can be really, really confusing. But what is interesting is that in that environment, the tendency is the need to go high, or is that just a physical thing for you, Deanna? It's hard to do low pitch loud than it is to do high pitch loud.
I don't know because this is the first time I'm really sort of breaking it down.
Yes, that's right.
But what it's really interesting to just put those two things together, because lately I've been like, I'll be like, "Mah, mah, mah, mah." I'm like, fuck, what's my voice doing up there? Like, that's weird. That's not where I live. My God, what's going on? But that's what it is. I suspect on some level I'm making just an adjustment to the quality of the sound that I'm producing so that, and by quality I don't mean good or bad, I just mean like range, where I'm sitting in my range and stuff.
Sure.
I'm shifting that around so that my voice can be heard above everything else. That's so interesting.
I wonder as well, and you don't have to know the answer to this question, but it's just popped into my brain, is that often as we adopt new qualities or ways of being, needing to be heard, our body has such, because our ears are so receptive to everything, and then once we start hearing something, we adopt it onto ourselves. I wonder, Deanna, if there's a person in your life who used to talk like that to get attention that you have naturally adopted by accident.
Don't know.
Because I know that, I've got phrases that my mother says or my father says, and when I say those phrases, I say them in the respective pitches.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So you might be...
consciously mimicking.
Unconsciously mimicking to achieve a task because the way that you were naturally choosing to do it was not working.
Isn't that interesting?
That's really interesting. So... while we're on this topic, have you guys ever heard of I'll preface this with a story. So my dad has in his older age been recently losing his hearing. But before that, he could hear everyone really well except for my mom. And he called it selective hearing. Now my mom was got all offended, and when she was like, well, he just doesn't want to listen to me, all of this stuff. But I guess scientifically, we were researching it, that I guess over time, apparently, there's if you hear a certain frequency more often than you hear other frequencies, you will hear that frequency less. You'll become numb to it almost. So maybe the change in your pitch of choosing a different pitch when you're talking to your family not only gets their attention because it's a higher pitch and you're able to speak louder, but maybe they're not used to hearing you in that pitch all the time.
I bet
That's
that's
interesting.
it. Because
Yeah.
and I've been playing with it a little bit actually. This is really interesting. I've been playing with it a bit. I've been like, okay, well, I'm just going to stay in my normal voice and I'm going to see how long it takes people to listen to me, and they don't hear me. They just don't. It's like
Yeah.
that way, that sound wave doesn't exist for them. But when I come up here, suddenly everyone's like, "Oh, Jesus." Well, how long have you been talking for? Like, the whole fucking time.
That's such an interesting thought process because we get so used to our environments, and our ears and noses are the two things that will cut out something as they start to get used to it. So you go into an environment where there's a horrible, horrible smell. Within 5 minutes, you will have adjusted to it.
Yeah.
And it's the same like with sound as well. If you're working or doing something and someone goes, "Can't you hear that?" And you're like, No.
That's how people fall asleep with like repetitive sounds in their environment and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That
used
is
to
so
live like right
interesting.
on a train track, and people are like, "How are you sleeping when like the train runs through your backyard?" I'm like, I don't even
hear
hear it anymore. Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
So
All right,
interesting.
that was definitely a sideways maneuver. Let's come back to it was really good though. It was really, really excellent. Let's come back to voice stuff, right? So the other time that I have lost my voice, the other times that I have had experience of like vocal distress or whatever, has been as a result of being sick. So like actually getting a cold or getting some sort of throat infection or respiratory infection or something like that has resulted in really inflamed vocal folds, right? Which is really different to the hoarseness that happens as a result of overuse, right? They're really, really different things. And I don't know if now's the right time to talk about this or if we want to sort of circle back to this a bit later, but it'd be really cool to talk about the difference between the way we treat those two things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because with the cold, like if my voice was hoarse because I partied too hard, really it just took time, right? And it was just like, don't push the voice, drink lots of water, hydrate well, rest it. I mean, I was only in my early 20s and I didn't really give a shit anyway, but like, and you recover great when you're young. So it might be different now, but when I'm sick and I have inflammation that's a result of illness, then I have to treat that really, really, really differently,
Sure.
Do we want to talk now about the ways that we can treat sort of those kinds of things?
Let's go for that because I'm interested to hear how you treat it differently. In my mind, I think I do the same thing. So I'm really interested to hear if you have a different process on those because I might be doing it differently, but honestly, I've never thought about it before. So Deanna, tell us the...
So when if I'm sick, right, the first thing that I'm doing is just immune system support, right?
Yeah.
So lots of like honey lemon kind of, drinks that are mostly like they're not affecting my vocal folds, but what they are doing is helping me feel better, right? And hydrating my entire system. So that's part of it, right? And other immune things like lots of zinc and magnesium and vitamin C and eating raw garlic and, all sorts of different bits and pieces that are just designed to support my immune system. And what I find is that gets me through the inflamed stage much, much faster than if I don't do those things, right?
Right, yeah.
So it's not directly about, this fixes my vocal folds. What it does is fix my system and then my vocal folds improve as a result of me, dealing with the systemic stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
The other thing that I do is SOVT, semi-occluded vocal tract stuff. So straw into a glass of water or even just a straw humming through it and really short bursts of that throughout a day, not long extended kinds of things, just like a little bit of straw work just to equalize the back pressure and realign the vocal folds and give them a little bit of it's like it gives them a little gentle massage or something like that and just kind of like makes them feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I just don't talk anymore.
Yeah.
These days and it's only happened to me twice in probably the last 10 years or something like that, right? Because as a general rule, I take good care of my voice. But when it does happen, that's the thing. Lots and lots of systemic treatment, but then specifically for the vocal folds, semi-occluded vocal tract and rest. Those are the things that I do.
Yeah, I love that. And I love talking about SOVT work for this sort of thing, because once you have inflammation, SOVT works it's not actually going to affect the vocal cords themselves. They're going to slowly start to stretch out and do some little bits and pieces. But actually what SOVTs are doing is that they're rebalancing the entire system so that you don't continue to put pressure on a place that already has swelling and pressure. So often, because something my supervisor said to me once, I was like, oh, a friend of mine's had a cold and they're asking me for vocal advice or something like that. And she was like, you can't heal swelling.
Yeah.
Swelling.
That's why the systemic stuff is so
important.
Right.
And so that's why I really like when people are doing SOVT, sometimes if they don't have a full understanding of them, what they'll do is go, oh, the SOVT is fixing my cords. No. We're rebalancing the entire system so that you can breathe properly, resonate properly to take pressure off of the area that's already struggling.
Yeah, I think that's also I think that's also a big reason why my endurance has gone down, is that I have used it a lot more, but not have practiced things like SOVT or just vocal health stuff like in general consistently until I start to notice an issue. And that's probably why
That's too late.
It's too late. I should have been doing this whole time as a practice, like as a daily part of my life in this business. What's also interesting to me, and I'm not sure because, well, the world isn't sure, is that I really didn't start experiencing a lot of these endurance issues with my voice specifically until after I recovered from having COVID. So I'm wondering, like what the toll was on my voice that I'm still recovering from. It's been, 2+ years since I've had COVID. And what effect did that have on my vocal cords? I wonder.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about it because I was sort of leaving the speech therapy realm as that was all starting to come in.
Good on you. Nice one,
well
Tess.
done.
Jeez.
Why didn't you stay in it longer? But what I have been hearing is that because also a lot of vocal performers and professionals were no longer working at the same capacity that they were pre-COVID, that a lot of people are losing their stamina, particularly those high level vocal athletes, those people who perform to crowds. And so because you don't have that same adrenaline, you don't have that same, everything that's happening inside your body as you're performing, you can't rehearse that. You can't practice that. So people are getting fatigued and then they're ending up with injury and or damage. And that's quite a big distinction between those two things. If we end up with injury, someone's using correct, vocal techniques, but something's gone wrong. It's like a sprinter spraining their ankle. They're more likely to because they are a sprinter and they do more running than anybody else, therefore more likely to sprain an ankle. Or they lead themselves into damage because they are physically fatigued, whether that's vocally or entirely, because everybody's had issues with the way that COVID has affected their mental health and all of those sorts of things, that they end up leading themselves to damage because they are using improper techniques, which then, cause issues again.
Yeah, I also think it's really interesting in a lot of the vocal online groups, I guess I take part in. A big conversation that we've had recently is actually vocal athletes in the space of particularly video games, because video game sessions are so vocally taxing with all of the efforts and the screaming and the dying that people in that space who do those jobs are required to do for hours and hours and hours. I mean, if you've ever been in a session like that, that they're going to be like, okay, I want you to, you're going to do efforts where you're going to scream falling off of a cliff, and we need an A, B, and C, and we need them to be all different lengths. And you're doing this for hours and hours and screaming battle, cries across a field. I mean, not literally across a field, like that's what the character's doing. You're obviously in like a booth, but it's still very vocally taxing. And so that's actually a conversation that a lot of people have had lately, because it's become difficult for a lot of voice actors who are doing these vocal athletics on a consistent basis, and it's causing them to get their voices damaged, sometimes beyond repair. It's to a point where people are saying, like, is this okay? You know, like this is there's something amiss here. Something needs to change.
Yeah. I find that really interesting because as a vocal performer myself, I'm really interested in doing video games. I think because, I love the acting aspect of it and I love all of that stuff. So, but because I know for myself personally that my breath support is not in the right place and my stamina is not in the right place, if an audition came across, I would not go for it. I would look at the script and I would, challenge myself to, think about character and performance and all of those sorts of things. But I know that if I was booked for that job, I would hurt myself. And that's I think, I don't know if that's a part of the conversation or not, because obviously these people are working in these fields and they need to be able to go there. But my question for that is, what are people doing to build their stamina? Because I think an entire episode that we could do is, do we actually warm up? And I think that's really interesting.
You need to be doing daily practice.
Yeah.
Like literally, breath support needs daily efforts made towards because that's what endurance is, right? You can't build endurance in 1 or 2 sessions. That's not what endurance is, right? Endurance is something that builds over time, right? And you need to build like power endurance and you need to build just regular endurance, right? And that power endurance thing is really, really, really important. And that's where breath support work comes in. And I say this just to my actors that I teach at Whopper, right? Like, treat yourself like an athlete and put the time in every fucking day, right? Every fucking day. If you want to do this as your profession, treat it like a profession. Don't treat it like a game. Don't treat it like something that you like every now and again, like do a bit of prep work for, right? Yep. If you're going to be using your voice in any kind of capacity, then you need to be putting effort into making sure it's supported appropriately. And that's one thing that you should be doing is practicing connecting your voice to your breath. And you need to do this in a low-risk environment, because the moment you step into a high-risk environment, your voice will come from your throat and you 100% will damage your throat. You just will, right? You have to practice connecting your breath with your voice daily so that you can do it like natively when you're in a high-risk environment.
I literally have something to share on that immediately. So it's back. My microphone was backwards and everybody knew that happened. And I re-recorded my my animation and sent it through to my editor.
Demo producer,
yeah. And I, funnily enough, I was feeling really, really overwhelmed by that because I had to do it by myself. I didn't have the direction anymore. Like, yes, I could listen to myself and do it that way, but it was just, there was something about it that felt really, really overwhelming. And I went, oh, just do it, it'll be fine. Didn't do a full warm-up like I normally do. I went into my booth, I did it, and I noticed that some of the sounds weren't as connected as they could have been. And I came out, I spent maybe about 20, 25 minutes just mimicking myself and putting those bits together. And I came out and went, my throat hurts.
Yep.
Because I was stressed, so I chose not to do what I normally do. I winged it or wung it. Is it winged it or wung it?
Winged it.
Winged it.
We'll go with both.
Wanged it.
I wanged it. Okay, I wanged it. And then I am fixed. Now, for me, I'm in a fortunate position where I have a bit of understanding of how all of that works. So I went, okay, Tessa, you know exactly what went wrong. Rest, drink your water, don't do any talking for at least 45 minutes. And we'll do a couple of little gentle humming exercises just to bring you back to...
Solved it up.
So yeah, solved it up. Solved it up. SOVT'd it up. And so, like, for me, that was okay. And I was able to identify all of those things. But I really feel for the people who do not have that kind of background and that knowledge, because what happens is that they go, oh, that didn't work. I know, I'll push harder. I just must not have been doing it hard enough.
Yes.
And that's really going to hurt you. And that terrifies me.
This is the risk of not being trained.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I feel so incredibly privileged in this space, right? Because I have been training as an actor from forever, almost, right? Like I've been having people support me through that process. I've done lots of classes. I've trained with lots of different people, and everyone always talks about breath support. It's a really foundational part of learning how to use your voice effectively, right? But there's a fuck ton of people that are in this profession now who have no acting background, who have no experience in this. They come in, they talk in front of a microphone, right? And then they just extend the skill set that they currently have. They push harder into that skill set. And they've got none of the foundational requirements to actually support a bigger use of their voice. And it's really fucking scary because you do damage, right? And sometimes that damage is only repairable through like surgery or some big extended piece of time or something like that, right? So, you know, if I could say anything to people who are new to this space, go and learn how to use your voice effectively. Train with somebody who can teach you how to support your voice with your breath, who can make sure that you have a practice that you can engage with daily that allows you to hook into that on a regular basis. Because I can guarantee you, the moment that you step into a high-risk environment, and by high-risk environment, I mean someone's given you a job, right? There's actually some like pressure on you. You will revert to whatever your brain knows best. And your brain knows what you've been doing for your entire life best. Even just going and doing a session with a voice coach, learning what breath is and how to support it, won't equip you for a high-risk environment. You have to practice day by day by day by day, every fucking day. You need to practice this. I cannot stress this more.
Oh,
Yeah,
I feel ahead, just like just the feelings. I was like, I love those feelings. So I've just got a really short thing to say, Ashton, and then we'll jump down to you. I think what is so important in that as well is be careful with who you choose as your practitioner, because one of my big things is the language that we use around how we talk about the voice and how we use the voice. And so sometimes when I hear people say, push from your diaphragm, I get a little bit nervous about it, because when I hear push, I hear other muscles being activated that maybe should not be activated. For example,
because it depends on what you know push to mean.
What you know push to mean. For example, sometimes when I say push to people, they engage their traps.
Yeah,
and they engage their neck.
Yep.
Because to them, push often means like bearing down, like, that sort of thing. Whereas I like to say the word activation. So a really amazing vocal coach here in New Zealand, Kirsty O'Sullivan, I think I talked about her way back when. She talks about activation, and I think that's so important because we're activating the muscles to stack your big muscles on top of your medium muscles towards your little ones. And that, so be careful who you choose. Make sure that they are cautious about how they look after you and your body, because otherwise it can get really bad.
What I was going to say, and it's actually in tandem with this, is that I think one of the best things that I did, and one of the smartest, it was smart in the end, but I didn't do it because of this, was I took singing lessons. Singing lessons is really going with a professional.
I think everyone who is using their voice should go and do singing lessons.
Exactly.
Not so that you can be a good singer, but so that you understand the origins of how to create sound and get your voice to come out of you.
Right. So when I started doing that, because I wanted to be a singer when I was younger. I also wanted to be an actor, but singing was like my first love. And so I started doing singing lessons and musical theater lessons, and all of these choir in, high school, and all of these things and all of these spaces taught me how to breathe properly and how to support my breath. And if I hadn't done those things, like I didn't have to relearn them when I entered the voiceover space, because I already had been practicing them for almost my whole life. Yeah. Luckily, because I started my singing lessons very, very young.
Yeah, I got really lucky because I studied broadcasting at the WA Academy of Performing Arts, and every week we had voice class every day, but then we also did choir once a week. And the goal was not to sound amazing. The goal was to learn how to sing and control your voice with those tools. And the funny thing was everyone wound up sounding amazing, right? We were at the start of the year, we all sounded like a bunch of cats in a bag being swung around in the air, right? Like it was really awful. But by the end of the year, we all sounded great. You know?
Yeah.
I think everyone should be doing singing lessons. Everyone
For sure.
who works with their voice.
By a reputable, like,
Yes.
good professional who knows what they're talking about, because anybody could be like, yeah, I'll give you singing lessons, and then they could not know those things, and it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I think what people miss about breath as well is that you don't understand what it does for your mental health if you can breathe. Because everybody talks about, and especially for creatives, like I don't know, like when I'm sitting working at my computer looking for auditions, doing whatever I'm doing, I feel stuck in my chest when I'm breathing, and it's a really like, I think it's quite habitual, like, because I know how to do deep breathing, I know how to get control of that, but my body in a high risk state, searching for jobs feels very high risk sometimes.
Yeah.
My body reverts back to this other way of being, and I can't stress to people enough that if you can get control of that breathing, particularly in your high risk environments when you're doing these jobs and these gigs, is that you can think better, you can ask better questions, you can do all of these things because you're breathing and you've got oxygen in your blood and in your brain.
But also, here's the other thing about that, right? When we're in a stressed state, from whatever has caused us to feel that way, right? When we're in a stressed state, our body's releasing cortisol, and cortisol shuts off your language center. Stops you from being able to speak appropriately.
I did not know that.
I don't know the exact mechanics of it, so Google it.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
But when you've got a bunch of cortisol and a bunch of adrenaline in your system, right, your language centers don't work anywhere near as effectively, right? It puts you into limbic and animal brain, and limbic and animal brain don't know language for starters. But it also cuts off the capacity of your, cortex to generate rational thinking and processes and stuff, right? So it doesn't just inhibit the amount of breathing that you're doing and then inhibit the oxygen saturation in your system, which it definitely does. Chest breathing means that you're not accessing a big chunk of your lung tissue, right? So you're definitely impacting your oxygen absorption into your system, but you're also cutting off your ability to communicate effectively. And when you talk for a living, the last thing you want to be doing is impacting your language centers and control,
Yeah. So I totally agree. When I learned it's just a really good practice from my vocal coach that I've worked with in the past. She's an amazing person. She's a fantastic actor. Her name is Kirsten Day. She's phenomenal. And she taught me, and she really pounded into me the importance of what she calls grounding yourself before you step into, doing anything. You need to ground yourself. Because even in a low risk environment, you still need to ground yourself, because then when you're in that high risk environment and you do ground yourself and you take that moment to breathe, to calm down, just to focus and to let go. If you practice that in low risk environments, when you're in the high risk environment, it's going to help you so much better. Like you said, your systems are going to be, where you need them to be. Your voice is not going to be stressed, and you'll be able to have the mental capacity to do the job.
It's always less stressful to be in our body than to be in our brain.
Yeah.
Always less stressful. So that grounding and alignment process, and then releasing tension through your system so that your rib cage can open and close, and you can get good oxygen contact in your lungs. All of that will help you stay calm, breathe well, use your brain effectively, feel better, and be able to perform at a much higher level, right? And all of those things are going to mean that you can use your system more effectively, and you're not going to rely on the muscles around your throat to create whatever sound it is that you're trying to generate.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to add to the end of that. It's going to keep you safe. There's this breathing practices are what keep you safe across the board. Obviously, all that other stuff is really important as well, like tongue position, jaw position, how you're actually using your cords, all those kinds of things.
But none of those things matter if your breath isn't working.
None of them matter if your breath is not working. And this is something, because Ashton and I teach a voiceover for beginners course, and my half of it is basic vocal functioning. And the first thing we do is just figure out where, as my old vocal coach, Kirsty O'Sullivan, would say, is where the big booty muscles are to support the everything else. She calls them booty muscles, and I love it. Booty as in big. I actually don't know what it means, but every time she says it, I just kind of melt inside and go, oh, that's cool. But it's and I explain it to people like this all the time. If your big muscles are not engaged, your little neck muscles or your medium neck muscles are going to crush your tiny ones to help them to get going. You have to have the big muscles to allow the medium muscles to relax, to allow your little ones to do what they're supposed to do. And that's, I think, as soon as people start understanding that, it makes it so much better in avoiding vocal damage. And a plus side to that, I always teach as well, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but this is really important to me, is that I teach people how the voice feels, not how it sounds. Oh, I just whacked my mic. I got too excited. But, so I like to teach people to examine their body as they're doing a process to have the sound be a byproduct. I want them to know how it feels in their body first before it comes out, because especially when I was teaching transgender voice, people would make a sound and then have to pull it back and try and readjust it again. But if I go, no, hey, look, start at the base. Are you nice and activated through your abdomen? Good. Does your larynx feel a little bit higher? Yeah, cool. Have we got our jaw nice and open? Cool. Now try. And the sound was so much more effective because we were focusing on the feeling, not the sound.
Yeah, I think I come across that all of the time when I'm teaching voiceover skills to people as well. There's a really massive shift that needs to happen, and you need to stop thinking about the outside and think about the inside.
Yes.
Trying to sound a particular way means that you are making adjustments at the very last point before the sound comes out.
Yeah.
And what you want to be doing is making those adjustments at deeper points, bigger, more foundational points. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there is a lack in a lot of education, especially in like when you take voice acting classes. I think there's a huge lack of that.
The breath, do they?
No, and they do exactly what Tessa was talking about. They talk to you about how it sounds. They never talk to you about how it feels. And
yeah, go on. Keep going.
It's really if the people taking these classes were more educated on things like breath and everything that we've been talking about today, they would be able to easily make those sounds that these coaches and these teachers are asking them to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's another component to throw into the idea of how we end up creating vocal damage is through our emotional and mental blocks. So I'm going to be really honest here and say that sometimes I struggle to warm up because I have it's kind of like that sense of, if I try and I don't do well, I'm a failure. So if I don't try hard enough and I don't do well, it's not my fault. It's the fact that I didn't do this bit. It's that kind of, I know, this little noggin up here can get quite complex from time to time. So that's been something that I still have to work through. Wow. That I have a real block. Like when I was at the actors program, I used to not practice my scripts just out. To practice, and that's
so funny, isn't it? Because like the practice and the warm-ups and the structure that you build, they're actually what allow you to be broadly creative. If you don't have those things in place, then it's like not giving a kid boundaries. If you create boundaries for a kid, they feel safe and then they get to explore. We have to do the same thing for ourselves. And skill acquisition, structure around warm-ups and practice, and practice is such a big thing. Most people don't build a practice into their approach. Like I honestly bang on about this all the fucking time. Like you have to practice daily. You just do, because what that does is teach your brain and your body that it's safe for you to explore. And if you don't have that foundation of practice in place, you're in a stressed state already because you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's coming. Your brain and your body are like, all right, we'll just give it a try. But then it reverts to whatever your default is. And your default won't be the best support unless you've been practicing every fucking day.
Yeah.
So, Deanna, I have a question then. Do you
Yeah.
have like a specific routine like that you've like mastered that you just do every day like without thinking now? Is there like
No,
something that you've
because-
developed?
No, because that's a bad idea, right? And the
Oh.
reason it's a bad idea is exactly the same as we stop hearing the things that are in our space all the time and we stop smelling the things that are in our space all the time. If we follow exactly the same pattern every single time, the muscles and the body get used to it. You wind up building muscle memory around those patterns and it prevents you from going into different spaces. So I'm a massive proponent of change your voiceover, change your warm-up routine, change your practice on a really, really regular basis, right? So there are, however, some things that I do all of the time. So I always hum.
Yep.
Always.
Yeah.
I'm always humming. I'm always doing trills, right? But I'm shifting things around inside of those. So I don't go, all right, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to drink a glass of water, I'm going to hum on a modal note for like 5 minutes, and then I'm going to spend 3 minutes doing trills, right? I fuck around, try different things all of the time. And that process of trying different things is what like broadens my capacity all of the time. But I'm pushing into kind of new spaces, not in a dangerous way, in a really safe, supported way. And the other thing that I always do is make sure that I'm breathing into my belly. And I try not to say to people too often, breathe diaphragmatically, because it's a little bit like kind of, it's got like a, what's it called when something's like it's not lingo-y, it's like
it's a bit jargony.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
it's a bit jargony, right? And we can't actually actively control our diaphragm. It has no proprioception cells, so we can't feel it. We can't actively impact it. What we can do is impact all of the muscles around it. So I tend to talk to people about belly breathing and rib expansion and that kind of thing. And so for me, my connection to breathing well is always rib-based. So I go, are my ribs moving? Are they moving in a 360-degree kind of like framework? And where is my breath sitting in my body, right? Does it feel like it's up near my throat? Or does it feel like it's lower, deeper down in me? Am I getting good expansion through my torso? And when that's the foundation, not breathe like this for 2 minutes, then do this for 5 minutes, then do this, right? What I'm actually doing is working on the foundational skills all the time, and then I get to play on top of that.
Yeah, I love that because I have a slightly different approach and I love your approach, but I think what we both have is versions of it, which I like. So I do have a bit of a structured sort of warm-up that I set up into, but what I have been doing is, so if any of you are following on my TikTok stuff, I do that mimicking and impressions kind of challenges. And so what I do with that is that I do my core base warm-up to get myself feeling comfortable. And then I go into a space where I'm challenging the range and the expression of my voice. And if I find something that catches in there, I work through it to then expand what I can do.
Yes.
So, for example, if I was doing something that's like really low and gravelly, I had to go, I've like, cool, I've got to adjust the way that I support to get to this position.
Yeah.
I've got something really high up in my nose, cool, I've got to adjust where my larynx is to get those high-pitched notes. So because I'm not quite sure how to adjust my core warm-up. So what I'm doing is adjusting the way that I use my voice after my core warm-up to then implement and find new ways to move.
Love it.
You guys are so wise. You're so smart.
I've just been doing it for a fucking long time. That's all. And it gets boring, right? Here's the other thing. To do the same thing over and over and over again gets boring and we stop doing it.
Yep.
As humans, we
That's
don't
true.
keep doing the things that bore us. If you're the kind of person that loves routine and loves structure, that's fine, right? Build yourself a routine and build yourself a structure, but make sure there's flexibility inside of it because things stop working after time. You have to keep kind of pushing into different areas so that you can keep things alive and keep the muscles engaged and activated, to go back to that word that Tessa was using earlier. Yeah, I really like that, by the way. So we've got to wrap up pretty soon because we've been talking about this for ages, and I think we could probably do like a whole season on like breath and, all that kind of stuff. I could talk about it forever. And there's a bunch of other things that I want us to be able to talk about, like, different treatments and different ways that we can, like damage versus injury. What does that even mean and stuff, So there's many things that we can talk about. And I think we're going to come back to those in another episode. Does that sound all right with everyone?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Sounds great.
So just before we wrap up, how about we jump into our sounds I can't make? This is genius, Tessa. I'm so glad that you came up with this as a concept. This is just my favorite thing in the world. Every time I watch back one of our like sounds you can't make things, right? I laugh my ass off because we all look so silly and funny, and it's just awesome. I fucking love it. So great. So what's our sound that we're probably not going to be able to make this week?
Well, today's sound is a clown horn.
Like a aruga kind of one.
No.
Like the nose, like when you pinch the nose, like
yes, precisely, Ashton.
I was
well
thinking
done.
of those horns that have the squeezy thing on the back, and they go aruga. But they're probably more like cartoon car horns or something. Maybe they're on clown cars. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Maybe. I don't know. So I have this lovely woman from TikTok. Now I can't pronounce her name, but we'll tag her in things that she knows. So I'll play it. She only does it once, and then she says thank you at the end of it. So I'll play it a couple of times so you can hear it.
Okay.
Hi everyone. I just wanted to come on here really quick and say thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just
good.
Holy shit.
Oh, that
yeah.
was so cool.
Here we go again.
And
Louder,
say,
mate, louder.
Thank
That's
you.
just all nasal, isn't it?
Don't know. All right. Well, sorry. It is quite quiet. I'm not sure why it's so quiet,
And
but
say
oh,
thank you.
do you know why it's quiet? Because I'm used to using the back of my mic to get lots of sound.
I enjoyed that.
Let's try again. I bet you this will be louder.
Hi everyone. I just wanted to come on here really quick and say thank
Fucking
you.
hell. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
It's incredible.
You can hear her take the breath in.
Yeah. I heard her say at one point that it's a third and a fifth together, I think. So if
That
anybody
doesn't help me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't help me either. But those are your two harmonies, your thirds and your fifths.
Ashton?
I
blow that thing
don't
harder.
read
Yeah.
music, but like I can imagine what that's like.
Yeah, here, we'll go one more time. And then look, guys, we're just gonna go all deep and we're just gonna give it a whirl.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Thank you.
Did she just block her nose?
She blocks her nose. So
Aha.
it's like the sound's coming here and then the sound's going there, and no one will know what that means. So the sound's coming through the mouth and then it's coming through the nose.
Oh, so mouth,
think.
then nose. So
Mouth and nose. No,
Oh. No, I'm too high now.
I think if you can get this sound going, so kind of like a foghorn, kind of like, you see how my nostrils are naturally flaring on their own? Ooh.
We did it together. That worked.
You
We had to
did.
do it together.
I can't do it I can't block my nose and do it.
Mm.
Hold on.
We actually look like clowns, but like, the clowns that like heads turn.
Yes. No, 3 of you look like clowns, and one of us looks normal.
Jordan. Okay, Jordan, have a go. In that case.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
Hey, that was good.
Cute.
Oh, that was good.
Get on your breath support, Jordan.
Yeah.
Well,
Hold on. I really want to do this one. Like I feel like I could get this one. This is
Okay,
one that
great,
I want to
great.
try.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I knew you'd like this.
It's so like
That's pretty good, though.
I can do the first sound. It's the second sound when she unblocks the nose that I'm like, how does she
So-
do that?
Tell me what you're doing with your nose. What are you wanting to achieve with your nose here, Ashton? What are you thinking?
Okay, nobody can see me. So I'm taking my knuckles and I'm trying to just block my resonators. I feel like how she does it is she does probably similar with her pinchers, but I want to block them all the way.
so that you sound like this.
Oh,
so you're full
yeah.
That's a really interesting, yeah.
Screenshot.
I hear what you're saying though, because you're getting
Do you
the
hear? Yeah.
oh, do
Right.
it so you can feel puffs of air in the top of your. Get it to there. Yeah.
Yes. Feel the sound like in your resonators right here.
I can't do it.
Oh, try this. Block off with your NG, so tongue to roof to palate. And what you're going to do is that you're just going to try and you're going to start the flow of it coming through your nose, and then just let go of your fingers and see what it feels like and sounds like. So if it gets your velopharyngeal port though, that hurts.
Oh yeah,
Do you get what I mean?
yeah.
So that's the end result, but we have to get it with the front bit.
Yeah.
I think we've all got it.
Oh, do it again. Do it again.
Okay.
Oh shit! Hang on.
Oh, bit of a snort in there.
Yeah, it was my velopharyngeal port getting stuck. It's closer though, right? Ashton, you were
closer.
on the money with this because she knows when to pinch
my
it,
nose
but
is
we
running
don't.
out.
So you're prepping it.
Yeah.
I knew
use
you'd
my-
like this exercise, Ashton.
All right, let's
I-
practice this. Let's practice this and have another go next week.
This is
What do
a
you
good
reckon?
one. I like it,
I
yeah.
think Ashton, if you keep practicing this, you've got this. I reckon.
You're gonna get that. You're
I am gonna get it.
Very excited.
No, I am.
Very excited. So clown, nose, horn, sound, thing. Ashton, we expect
Got it.
great things from you next
All right.
next week, next
Yeah.
time, next episode. All right, great.
Part
Okay,
of me wants to enforce structure into this. Like when you're in the classroom and the kids have to put their hand up and speak one at a time.
Yeah.
If I feel like I need to be the teacher. We're very, very good at putting our hands up in this podcast until it comes to sounds I can't make, and then it's utter carnage. It's just
Chaos, right?
no one gives a shit at that point.
and we're all trying to make the same sound too, so it's just like a cacophony of like.
It's madness. It's madness.
Yeah. Yeah, good
too
luck to
much.
whoever our producer
much.
is. Like,
Yeah.
good luck to that guy.
Stressing me out.
And producer.
That's so funny because I
Otherwise,
didn't
excellent.
my brain didn't even register that we were doing that because I was just so in my own zone
Yeah.
about trying to find it.
That one's going to be fun to listen to later. I'm very, very excited. Very excited. Very excited. On that note, we are wrapping. Okay. So if you have a question about VO or a story you'd like to share or you can make that sound or you can't make that sound, right? We want to hear it. We really, really do. So send us in your voice notes. Send us in your recordings of you doing weird shit with your voice. We love that stuff, right? Let us know if you've got any questions. You can send us any of those bits and pieces to thegoodtalkerspodcast@gmail.com. You can also get a hold of us on our socials. We're the Good Talkers Podcast on all of the socials.
And I just want to throw a little note out there as well. If you are experiencing any vocal damage, any vocal distress, anything that's causing you difficulty or inhibiting you in your career because of your breath capacity, your vocal capacity, whatever it is, please go see someone. Go look for a coach that has some background in anatomy and physiology because they're going to be the ones that are really going to help you move forward. Talk to a speech pathologist or go see an ear, nose, throat surgeon because you don't want to take risks with that stuff. It's your career, it's your voice, it's your body. Look after it.
Yes, definitely. And
Agreed.
if you are working with an acting coach or somebody like that, make sure that you have a conversation with them about what their process is around breath support and like really kind of inquire with lots of curiosity about what they're doing to support their voice. And if they're not actively teaching you that as part of the process of learning how to use your voice, ask for it. And if they can't do it for you, just find somebody else who can. You know? I think it's really, really important. Agreed. Thank you for that bit, Tessa. That's really, really important. Look after your voice, people. So follow us everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, The Good Talkers Podcast. Like and subscribe, all of those kinds of things. And thank you very, very much for being here with us. We love doing this podcast and we love the feedback that we get. And it's really good to know that everybody's enjoying it as much as we are. So that's it for us. the Good Talkers podcast, another episode. We'll see you next time. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.